Hello and welcome to the John Ark Show. Today we've got a special guest, actor and legendary bodybuilder and professional wrestler, Ric Drasin. Before we begin, I want to encourage you to subscribe, like, and comment on the show. Also, I'd like to tell you about a service called HollywoodIsCalling.com. It allows you to purchase live phone calls with more than 100 actors. For $19.95, you can purchase a live 15-second call with your favorite movie star. And for $29.95, you can purchase a live 30-second call. It's a great idea for yourself or as a gift for somebody you care about. So give it a try. It's HollywoodIsCalling.com. Now let's get started. So Rick is an actor who's appeared on TV shows like The Incredible Hulk, The Shield, and many other movies and special projects. He also has a very popular podcast called Rick's Corner, in which he routinely interviews some of the biggest names in Hollywood and the sports world. Rick is also a legendary bodybuilder who rose to fame along with Arnold Schwarzenegger and Lou Ferrigno at the mecca of bodybuilding, the legendary Gold's Gym in Venice, California. He was also a professional wrestler for 36 years and continues to be loved by wrestling fans everywhere. So without any further ado, let's welcome Ric Drasin to the John Ark Show. Hello and welcome to the John Ark Show. Today we've got a special guest, actor, professional wrestler, and professional bodybuilder, Ric Drasin. Hi, Rick. Welcome to the show.
John, I've been looking forward to this, and thank God I got my computer to work so I could do it.
Yeah, once you start using Zoom on a regular basis, it's so easy. It's so addictive.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes I have to jump through hoops because iTunes wants my password. Change your password, get a new password, to change the password. It's like, oh my God, just click and go. I'd like it much better.
So I'd like to go back to the early days for a minute. Both you and Arnold and a couple of the other legends from the golden era of bodybuilding, you all came up at a time when bodybuilding was not really as popular or as known as it is now. What do you attribute your early interest to it at that point?
Well, it was mostly freaks, but growing up, my father used to take me to wrestling matches in town, in Bakersfield, a small town. And I was always intrigued by the way somebody could flip somebody over their shoulder. And they were big guys. And I wasn't big. I was about 145. So I decided to join a gym. I joined the YMCA and started working out. And I didn't know what to expect, although I saw that I started to gain strength and muscle. At that time, I believe I was around 17 or 18, he went to the hospital and he died from open heart surgery. So I just continued to train until 1960. Oh my God, it must have been 1964. I went and entered a contest in Central California and won Mr. California. And then I thought to myself, maybe I'd like to get into wrestling. You know, my dad didn't live through it, but he would be proud if I did. My mom will kill me if I do it. So at 65, I met two wrestlers that came to the YMCA and asked me how I could get into the business. And they said, well, you have to drive down to Los Angeles and see if Johnny Mae Young, who was a world women's champion, will train you. She says, she'll train a few people, but not many. She has a small ring. So I did. I drove down there. I took my mom with me. We were very close. And she says, you got to be crazy. Are you really going to do this? I said, yeah, I'm really going to do it. It's something I've been wanting to do, and we'll see how it goes. So I took her to the Olympic Auditorium, and it was vacant because it was during the day and nothing was going on. There was like 20,000 empty seats with pigeons flying in and out of the big doors, crapping on everything. So I went into Johnny Mae Young's office, and she had her tights on, and she's around 42 then, and she kind of a tough guy look at me and take your shirt off. Let me see how you look. So I took it off. She says, I can make some money with you if you're good at this. I'm going to train you and see where you can go with it. I said, sounds good to me. So we spent an hour going through some of the moves and taking body slams and hitting the ropes. And I came out pretty bruised up from the mats because you got to learn how to fall. If you can't fall properly, you're going to cut yourself up. And my mom said, I hope you learned it now. I hope you have it. You're full of this. You don't want to come back. I said, no, I'm coming back tomorrow. So I continued to drive back and forth to train probably 5 days a week from Bakersfield to LA, which is 112 miles. And I was dedicated, and that's what it took to be dedicated. And then go home and hit the gym for 2 hours to stay in shape. So you can imagine what that does to your body.
Oh, yeah. So you and Arnold were training partners back in the day. And
yeah.
You guys developed a lot of interesting training regimes and exercises. How has bodybuilding training changed from the early era to the current era? Have the exercise regimes themselves changed very much, or is it just the machinery?
So now, you mean?
Yeah.
Well, back then there were basic weights. You didn't have very many machines at all. You had the squat rack, the bench press, the incline, the pull down machine, and leg extensions, and basically stuff like that, dumbbells and barbells. And then Joe Gold started building machines that you could use, like a press machine and a lat machine with cables and stuff like that. So everybody kind of migrated over to Gold's Gym in Venice, where you could use all the right machinery, because most of the gyms didn't have that. You had like Jack LaLanne's and that type of thing, but they didn't have all that. So because Joe had this little gym in Venice, and because Arnold trained her and Draper and Zane, myself, and Joe Weider put it in all of his magazines worldwide. Worldwide, it became the mecca of bodybuilding. Everybody says, "Oh, we got to go to Venice. You see Arnold there. You see all the guys that they train there every day. It's their lifestyle." So it started to get very, very popular. And we used basic routines. You know, it was nothing elaborate. We'd work chest and back, and one day with Arnold, I would do chins, and then we'd do bench presses, and we'd superset, and then same old basic exercises down the road for back, shoulders, and arms and legs. And it got results. So the people who came out to train, they wanted to do what we did, and they started getting the same results. That hasn't changed. Now, over the years, there's new trainers now, and they give you a ball to play with and roll around on the floor with and all these other things. And it's like, doesn't do anything for your body like what we did. It was old. We trained old school style. And a lot of the younger guys today want to go old school style too, because they see the results. Body doesn't change. It's the same body's been around for years. If you feed it what we fed it then, and you train like we did then, you're going to get the same results.
So I was watching Jay Cutler's video recently, and he goes back to Golds from time to time. And Jean-Claude Van Damme was there. It's amazing how many of the greats, you, Jay, Arnold, still go back on a regular basis.
Yeah, Jay did an interview with me.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Yeah.
The only difference today between then and now are the drugs that give you the size. I mean, we hadn't access to it back then like that, like now. And today, since they do have access to it, they get a completely different body look, a big bloated look. But we never had that.
Yeah, so if you had to guess, I mean, there are a lot of mass monsters out there on stage at the various competitions. If you had to guess, what percentage of their success and their achievement is attributable to their work ethic, and what percentage is attributable to their pharmaceuticals?
Well, 80% of this whole thing is diet.
Yeah.
If you diet properly, you're going to get results. I'd say the rest of it is just a matter of how you work out, and then taking a little extra juice on the side to help enhance it, probably about 10% worth. But I've seen people who take the stuff and they don't train hard, and they just get fat and pimples. So you've got to do everything to make it work. You just don't take the shots and say, okay, I'm going to get huge. You don't. It doesn't happen.
What is your diet like these days?
Well, now that I'm in quarantine.
In general, outside of quarantine, what would your diet be like?
Just hate it. I'll have eggs and oatmeal for breakfast with some toast and a protein drink and a pre-workout, and go to the gym. And then after the gym, I'll have either amino acid drink or a protein drink. And then a couple hours later, I'll go have lunch, which will be an omelet, cottage cheese, or maybe a burger patty and cottage cheese. And then in the afternoon is a protein drink, and then dinner could be either chicken or fish or sushi or steak or anything that has high protein in it, but nothing after dinner.
Now, you eat a lot of carbs, or you keep your carb intake to a minimum?
No, I'm not. I used to. When I was younger and I was training really, really hard, and when I had Sunday would roll along and I could have a junk day and I wanted cake and pie and all that stuff, I'd go out and eat it. And I'll eat it now if somebody gives it to me, but I don't eat the whole thing. I usually eat half. Just lost some of my desire for it. I didn't see where it did me any good except make me tired, the sugar.
Well, I have to tell you, I was up to 235, and on February 1st, I switched over to a low-carb diet.
Yeah.
And also, I started doing a lot of intermittent fasting. And some really interesting things happened. First of all, lost 20 pounds.
Yeah.
Secondly, my need for sleep decreased from 8 hours of sleep 5 or 6 hours of sleep.
Really?
Third, what intermittent fasting does is that it skyrockets your growth hormone production, your natural growth hormone production. So what happens is you actually start getting more cut, more muscular. I was amazed. I never would have thought in a million years that eating less and eating during a confined eating window would cause these things to happen.
I've heard this. I don't know if you know who Alex Ardente is. Have you heard of him?
No, no.
He's a physique photographer. He shot, oh my God, I don't know, 20,000 covers for Joe Weider, and he's in great shape. And he did the intermittent fasting like you're doing. He said, my God, I lost body fat and I gained muscle. And the same thing.
And I'll tell you what else surprised me. For my entire life, I've always been eating a heavy breakfast before I go into the gym for a heavy workout. I work out for 2-3 hours at a time. And I always thought there's no way I could endure a heavy workout on an empty stomach. But people say that is the way to go. So I tried it. It's amazing. You don't eat beforehand. You go to the gym. Your energy, your stamina, everything increases. It is amazing. I never would have thought intermittent fasting would have been this.
No, I always thought you had to have fuel in the tank in order to train, so I'd have breakfast.
Yeah, I thought that as well. And it is just transformative. It's completely different. So, go ahead.
I'd like to try it. I'm just, I have to figure out what hours I can do that, because if I can get away with it and not eat until noon after a workout, then I think I could do it.
Yeah, well, it's typically an 8-hour eating window, and when you begin that 8 hours is entirely up to you. You can start it at noon or 1 o'clock and stop eating at 8 or 9. But here's the other interesting thing, and that is that when you are working out while intermittent fasting, it affects how often you get injured. You know, something about the growth hormones, it accelerates your ability to recover from an injury.
That's very interesting.
They say it increases your growth hormone production by 10 to 20x. So think of that's between 1 and 2,000% when you're on intermittent fasting. It's really amazing stuff. I never would have guessed it. Never would have thought. So we're seeing a lot of MMA guys come over to the world of professional wrestling, and a lot of wrestlers trying, not a lot, but some have tried MMA. And so there's a little bit of crossover there, you know, Ronda Rousey and a few others. And so what are your thoughts on this?
Well, do you know Gene LaBelle?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, Gene's a very good friend of mine. I started training with him at 65 when I started wrestling, and he can pretty much master anybody to take him down. And he was a wrestler, but a judo guy, and then he also trained Ronda Rousey for wrestling. But it's a different world, because when you get into the ring to become a pro wrestler, you're working together as a team. You're going to work. It's almost like a dance with violence. So if I take you into a headlock and I'll say, throw me into the ropes, and when I come off, take a bump, I'm going to give you a shoulder block, get up, and then take me over again. You go through the routine of that. Whereas the ultimate fighting is you're going out for blood, trying to kill each other. So if you're a wrestler and you get into the UFC and you're not really a fighter, you're not going to do any good, because you're not used to getting hurt like that. Now, if you're a fighter and you get into the wrestling, you have to learn how to work very, very loose and not hurt anybody.
Yeah. Well, Ronda Rousey has a documentary on Netflix. It's really good. I was surprised at how good it was. And Gene LaBelle appears throughout that documentary. Yeah. And he's a big part of her training and her workouts. So I got to tell you, Gene looks like he can still tear heads off shoulders at this age.
We just did he and I just did a couple of documentaries together. He's 88, and then I just had him on my show like a month ago, and then I went over to his house and filmed a bunch of stuff. He's also an artist. Yeah. He doesn't admit to be, but he's got some nice stuff hanging in his house.
Yeah. Great. So you were also friends with Columbo.
Yes.
And Columbo passed away not too long ago. I believe it was a swimming accident of some sort. He drowned while swimming or something.
Well, it was really weird, because I called him. I said, "You want to do my show?" And he said, "Sure." So he came over and we did 4 parts to it. And we hadn't seen each other in years and years and years. And it was really nice, and just nice to see him. And then he's a chiropractor as well. So he treated my back, because I had a back injury, and we talked. And then the next thing I knew, he was going to Italy with his manager, who is a friend of mine. And she called and said, "Franco died." But I said, "What happened?" She said, "I don't know. We went to go into the ocean. He jumped in, he grabbed his heart, and then he just went under and drowned."
Wow.
Well, I couldn't believe it. I just couldn't believe it.
You think it was a riptide or just a heart attack?
I think he just had a heart attack.
Yeah. Yeah. So let me ask you, what is the difference, do you think, between the business of wrestling back in the day and the business of wrestling today? Do you think it's more cutthroat, more competitive, more entertainment focused?
Well, back in the day when I was wrestling locally, and then they had different territories. We had California, we had Northern California, Southern California, the South, Alabama, Montreal, Canada, Michigan, as it goes. Each promoter had his own area of maybe 20 towns that he would run. And it was independent of everybody. Yeah, that one promoter was in charge of everything. And we would do TV for each town, then we'd go out and wrestle the towns because we were promoting on TV. And then the payoffs were every night, cash. It could be anywhere from $30 to $150, depending on how big the crowd was. And then when Vince McMahon took over and claimed an entertainment, went on Saturday Night Live with it, started having big shows and took all the big stars, the local promoters couldn't make a living anymore. He just squashed everybody out of it. He paid people big bucks, and it went worldwide, and they lost their income.
Yeah. You've been one of those individuals that has successfully transitioned between various areas of entertainment: bodybuilding, television, professional wrestling, and you were on an enormous hit show called The Incredible Hulk.
Yeah.
And
I had a dream last night.
What's that?
I had a dream about that last night.
Yeah, yes. I remember what an impact that show had on the culture. It really had a dramatic impact.
Yeah.
And for the longest time, for many years, hearing or getting a regular a role on a network television show was the golden standard. That's what everybody did. Working on that show and appearing on that show, did it open as many doors? Did it elevate you professionally? Did it give you opportunities that it often does?
I don't think that it did. See, back in the day when I was getting out, I did a lot of TV shows that maybe a lot of people don't know about, like Riptide, The Fall Guy, the FBI series. A lot of those things that came on during the week at night, those hour shows. And I'd play different characters. I'd play a bodybuilder, I'd play a wrestler, I'd play a bodyguard. I did a movie where I played an Arab general. Being a bodybuilder back in the days hurt you more than helped you because they just thought of you as an idiot. You're just a big dumb guy. And then when you proved you could do something, it helped out a lot. Now, being on the Hulk, people weren't aware that I played the middle Hulk. They just thought it was Lou Ferrigno. But it's a conversation piece from places I go from time to time. Right. I think what opened the doors for me more than anything was being a bodybuilder and a pro wrestler, because people love to talk about wrestling.
Yeah. It's amazing how popular it is. Now, you also appeared on a show called The Shield, a brilliant, brilliant show, which if you watch it to this very day, it still holds up really well.
Yeah.
It's intelligently written. It's very kinetic. It's action-packed. The acting is really good. Tell me a bit about that show. How was working on that show?
Well, Michael Chiklis was the star of Shield, right?
Yes.
And I used to know him from a coffee shop in Toluca Lake. So we started talking one day about dieting, and he started dieting down and getting really in good shape. He said, you need to shave your head because he had hair on the sides. He says, okay. And one day he came in there, he said, look, I shaved my head. And he trimmed way down, and that show took off, and he was on it. And then they called me in to read for this character, Pipe, a gangbanger. And it wasn't through him. It was through, I guess it was through casting because I knew one of the producers too. Mm-hmm. So I went in to read, and there was, I don't know, like 20 or 30 guys there. And I showed him I had a missing finger. I said, you can use that as a part of your scheme or whatever because it's missing. And I guess it made an impression on him. So I got booked. I got called and I got booked on it. And when I woke up on the set, Mike said, oh my God, you got on the show. That's wonderful. And so the producer. So they had fun with me. And then we got arrested that night at a big drug heist. And of course they went ad-libbing, and he's just going, hey, you bald idiot, you bald guy. And this scene just went on and on camera. But yeah, it was fun. It got a lot of mileage for me. It was a recurring role. And then the series stopped.
Yeah. Well, having that on your IMDb or on your resume, that's something that everyone will continue to notice. It is very impressive work.
Yeah, thank you.
It's work that's really impressive, and to this day, it holds its own against a lot of the current content. So let me ask you this: social media is impacting all areas of the entertainment world, the technology world. In fact, I've seen some of your other interviews where you talk about people going to the gym these days, and rather than interacting with each other, they're on their phones listening to music, or they're checking their Instagram or their social media pages. Now, a minute ago, you mentioned that you made that connection at the coffee shop with Michael Chiklis,
Right.
And that led to the other opportunities.
Right.
If someone came up to you early in their career and said, what percentage of my time should I spend working on my athletic abilities or my craft? And what percentage of my time each week should I spend developing my social media presence in order to elevate my standing? What do you think a reasonable amount of time is? Or do you not really believe in wasting too much time on social media?
Well, you should always work on your skills and your body and what you have to offer as far as physically and mentally. But social media, as far as self-promotion, I do on a daily basis. I don't let up on Facebook or Instagram or on my show, and I've got 1,600 shows in the can and 38 million viewers, because it just keeps going and going and going, and I work on it hard.
It makes a big difference. It really does elevate your standing, your fans' awareness of your content makes a huge difference.
Yeah, it does. And it's worldwide, and it's free.
So now you've had a really, you've experienced some real longevity in professional wrestling. A lot of guys that get slammed around a few times and they're done. They can't wait to get the heck out of it. Do you think your weight training fortified you and strengthened you and gave you what it took to recover from these injuries? Did that sort of pave the way?
I think it did, but I think you got to also have an inner drive to want to do something really bad. I've had some serious injuries, and I tore both quads off my leg, and I had to have surgery, and I was in leg braces for 6 weeks. Once they healed up, I was right back in the gym. I tore a tricep. I've lost teeth. I had a knee replacement. Now the knee replacement went bad. The metal in the knee is not good, and it's hurting. It's making my right hip hurt. But I still get around and do stuff. It's just since we've been on this thing with this quarantine, I don't know about you, but I talk to everybody who tells me that they're exhausted all the time. And I am too. I'm just tired all the time. I'm doing nothing.
Not going to the gym changes your life. It's a huge void. I really miss it, and I can't wait to go back. So, you mentioned some injuries. I don't know if you watched the Joe Rogan podcast, but Joe Rogan has had a number of injuries, and he talks a lot about a stem cell specialist out of Vegas, Dr. McGee.
Yeah.
He had a number of transformative procedures that have helped a lot of MMA guys and other athletes. And they just came up with a new procedure that is allowing them to restore torn ligaments in knees, and they do it it's part surgical, and part of the procedure involves stem cell injection, and it ends up with a complete repair of the entire injured area. It's unbelievable. And also, Rogan did another episode where Mel Gibson stopped by. Mel Gibson's father, I believe, was in his late 80s, 90s, and the doctors told him he didn't have long to live. So Mel Gibson did some research, found a cutting-edge stem cell position. I believe it's down in South America. Got on a private jet, flew down there. They did the stem cell procedures, and he said it's been years since then, and his father has been stronger than ever. So, if you're ever online on YouTube, you can see there are a bunch of videos of professional athletes, professional wrestlers who go down there, and then they talk about it on their YouTube channel.
You got to have the right person, and I know they don't take insurance, so it can be quite expensive.
Yeah, but Rick, you are a celebrity, and you might be able to leverage that for a serious discount if you decide to go down there. And of course, you can negotiate that in advance. That's something you might want to explore. Here, another thing. I don't want to dwell on this. You mentioned your hip injury. There's another documentary on Netflix. It is about how prosthetic implants. Somebody wears out a hip, or elbow, and they put the prosthetic implants, typically stainless steel or something. And after a few years, these things they start grinding on each other.
Yes.
And then you have metal shavings.
That's what I've got.
pouring into the body, and then the stuff, it starts to travel throughout your body. So, do a lot of research to determine what the next step is, because what I was amazed by when I watched the documentary was these manufacturers, when they get their government approval, they don't have to do any testing on human beings before they put these prosthetics onto the market. I'm just amazed by that. How you can put a metal object in someone's body and not test it.
That's true. Yeah, so, that's true. Maybe it was you that told me that, because I remember talking to somebody about that.
A lot of people out there would like to follow in your footsteps. Somebody comes up to you and says they would like to start a career in professional wrestling or professional bodybuilding. I know you get this a lot. Do you have a pat answer? Does the question annoy you? Do you enjoy it? Does anybody even listen when you give them advice?
No, I get this. I get this thrown at me all day long. Oh, do you remember Bobo Brazil? Do you remember Freddie Blassie? Yeah. I mean, it's just so standard. If I used to go out to dinner with my girlfriend, I'd get hit on by everybody about it. They said, people ask you the same thing all the time, don't they? I said, all the time. I can't even go to dinner. It just doesn't stop. I would tell anybody who wants to get into wrestling, forget it nowadays. It's not the same thing. It's very, very hard. They take people that are really well built, that are really good in the ring, and they'll use them for about 6 weeks, and then they dump them. And then once you're out of there, what are you going to do for a career? If that's what you wanted, you better have a backup.
Do these guys get any insurance when they first go in, or is it simply, paycheck in the other week?
Not really, no.
No, that's $1 billion empire. It's amazing.
I would just say, not that college is the answer, but take your passion and work your passion, become something that you really want to do and put all your efforts into that. And then if you want to do something on the side, because they have indie shows on the side for wrestling, you do that on the side and have fun with it. But you're never going to make more than 20 or 30 bucks.
Are you familiar with Kai Green?
Yeah.
So Kai Green, he was disappointed by not winning the Olympia. And Kai Green put a lot of time and effort into his social media presence, videos, all sorts of videos. Now Kai doesn't even need them. Now they want him to come back, and he's sort of ambivalent about it. Yeah. He's actually better known now than when he was on the stage.
It's amazing.
Yeah. So, listen, I want to thank you very much for coming on the show. Is there anything that you would like to plug or promote?
Well, go to my show, rickscorner.com. I talk about bodybuilding and wrestling and all kinds of things in the world that you can talk about. I also designed the Gold's Gym logo, as everybody knows, right?
Yes, yes.
And I do it on an 8x10 piece of paper, and I autograph it to people and sign it, and I sell it for $75 on my website, ricdrasin.com. And I've been selling a ton of them. People buy them and they hang them in their gym walls, in their bedrooms, in their offices, and it's a piece of history, a piece of art history that I draw for them.
Well, that's a great idea. Celebrity art does really well, and it just appreciates over time.
Yeah.
Stallone paints. A lot of actors paint, and when that stuff hits the market, Burt Young from Rocky.
Yeah.
A lot of these guys paint, and that stuff is just appreciated.
Yeah, it's on my website, ricdrasin.com. You can order direct.
Excellent. Well, I want to thank you. I want to thank you once again. It was a pleasure talking to you. I want to wish you well.
Thank you, John.
And I look forward to speaking with you again.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Thank you.